Hi, thank you so much for telling one of our stories this month. We're so excited. So, a few things before we start. Today we have a quick introduction that you'll need to memorize, or you can have your notes near you. And the rest of our story are told on the back of these cards. It's my hope that you know the story well enough that you can contribute with maybe gestures or ways of interacting with the story that are not quite so just like reading the back. But you don't need to memorize it. You do have the text on the back. So just the very beginning, and then there's the wondering questions, which you also have with you right here. And we'll talk through those a little bit as I tell the story. So when we start our circle, we make sure that we're ready. If you would like to, you can open with a quick prayer, or have somebody open with a quick prayer, or just take a big breath. Once there was a man, Jesus, who said such wonderful things and did such amazing things that people followed him. And as they followed him, they saw him teach in a new way, not like any of the other teachers they had heard in the synagogues before. But some people were angry with Jesus' teachings. They said, "Jesus, why do you eat with sinners? Why do you welcome people who do bad things?" And Jesus answered their question by telling them this story. Once there was a father who had 2 sons. One day, the youngest son asked his father for his share of his father's inheritance. It was an offensive question, since an inheritance is money given to a son after his father dies, and his father was still alive. Nevertheless, the father graciously gave the son this share anyway. The youngest son took his father's money and moved far away. He spent the money unwisely, lived selfishly, and made many bad choices. It was not long before all the money ran out. There was a great famine in the land, and there was not enough food. Desperate and hungry, the young son found a job as a servant feeding pigs, and was so hungry that he wished he could eat the food the pigs were eating. The son thought to himself, "My father's servants have more than enough food. I will go to my father's house and say, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your servants.'" So he made the long journey back home. But while he was still far off, the father saw him coming and was filled with love and compassion. As he walked back through the fields of his father, practicing his apology, the son looked up and saw his father running towards him. The father threw his arms around him, hugged and kissed him. The son started with his speech, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father called out to his servant, saying, "Quickly, bring out my best robe, ring, and sandals. Prepare a feast with the food that we've been saving. Let us eat and celebrate. For my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and now he's found." But wait. This is the story of a father and 2 sons. While all this celebration was happening, the older brother was watching, full of anger, and refused to celebrate. His father came and tried to convince him to join in the fun, and the son said, "Listen, for all these years I have been working like a slave for you. I've never disobeyed, and you've never thrown me a party, not even a little one. But when this son of yours came back after spending all your money, you threw him the biggest party we've ever had." The father said to him, "Son, you are always with me. Everything I have is yours. But we have to celebrate because your brother was dead and now has come to life. He was lost and has been found." At this point, you want to sit back, and we're going to start with the wondering questions. You want the story to be visible, all the parts of it, so that people can reference the story as they start to wonder with you. So we're going to start with the first two questions, which is, I wonder what is your favorite part? And then I wonder what's the most important part. You don't really want to spend a ton of time on those two questions, but your favorite part is a way to start engaging people, to create the culture of we're participating together, and then it helps the kids. It's an easy entrance question. So, and then as they're saying their favorite parts, you can follow up, particularly with the question of what's the most important part. They might have things to say and that you can follow up with. So I wonder what the most important part is. You might hear when the father ran to him, and then you can mirror back, oh yeah, when the father ran to him, I wonder why that is important. Or if they say something sort of obscure, you're gonna need to decide whether that's on purpose to be silly or if it's an interesting follow-up. But you can, the most important part is that he was with the pigs. Oh, the most important part is that he was with the pigs. I wonder what that helps us understand about his situation. So you can ask follow-up questions that pull out some of these ideas, because the kids, and I'm sure the adults, have plenty of things that they can say that are quite insightful, that can lead and direct a discussion. So as you're wondering, you're trying not to give any hard and fast answers, but you're also trying to pull out discussion. Then the next questions, the two questions are related. What does the younger brother want? And you always start these questions with I wonder. It makes them more open-ended. I wonder what the older brother or the younger brother wants, and what was needed so that he could be close to the father. So the hope with those questions are that you really wrestle as a group with each of the stories, each of the characters. So before we go in with all of our ideas of what we've heard a million times, we can really wrestle with what were they really looking for? What was the younger brother really needing? What was he really wanting? Why wasn't he finding that? And then ultimately, what did he need to do in order to be close to the father again? So let's lead and guide those discussions, and then we do the same thing with the older brother. And then we're going to start that same conversation with the father, but we don't need to get too far into that because the father is clearly a picture of God in this parable. So while we can mimic with our own lives, let's stick to that. So I wonder, what did the father want is a sufficient question there. Then the most important question, perhaps, of our time is, I wonder where you are in the story. And then we're going to make this plural. I wonder what parts of the story are about you, because we all identify with multiple parts of this story. And we want to try to break from the I'm an older brother or a younger brother sort of idea. I wonder what parts are about you. And in our wonderings with children, sometimes this is obscure. I'm in the pigsty. Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more. How are you in the pigsty? I am in the party because I love parties. Oh, me too. I love parties. Tell me more about why you love parties, or why that part of the story is meaningful to you right now. And then what might Jesus have wanted us to know about God as our Father? And then if you have any more time, obviously you should direct the conversation as is the most productive for your group. You might only get to a couple questions because the conversation is so rich, or you might need all of the questions because your group needs a little bit more prompting. Either of those are fine. So the last question to take some time is, I wonder what else is coming up for you. I wonder what other thoughts you have about this story. And hopefully that leads to more discussion that is far outside the scope of what I have thought up here, because the story is a really rich one that obviously we can come back to over and over and over again. And then we will all connect again together. So I hope and pray that this discussion is a really rich and full one for all ages. And then again, to engage the children is just to do follow-up questions. I find that to be really, really helpful. Okay, blessings.